saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, I remember walking out of the theater thinking that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Here's a guy who is a really cool swashbuckling archaeologist, Han Solo. It sort of got in me, and I decided, I want to do something in that mysterious world where the Bible and faith and Christianity and history and adventure and all that intersect. One of the great things about looking at history as Christians is that everything hinges on that. If what we claim as Christians didn't happen in time, space, history, then Paul said, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. None of it matters. Realizing that we are standing on the shoulders of a church that's been around 2,000 years, struggling with the same things we're struggling with, makes the Bible, I think, even more interesting, exciting, relevant. We read the Bible, it's more than just a me and Jesus devotional book. It's a history book. This is an enduring faith. It's durable. We were on a layover in Rome, and he's like, hey, why don't you go over and rent this bicycle and then turn the camera back on yourself and film yourself narrating about these catacombs and what the Appian Way is all about. It's like, okay. Handlebars go like this. I go over the handlebars and land on these 2,000-year-old cobblestones, and Jim runs over and, how's the camera?
Welcome back to the MakeReady podcast. My name is Brian Sims, and today I sit down with Dave Stotts, filmmaker, storyteller, and host of Drive Thru History. From being inspired by Raiders of the Lost Ark as a kid, to spending decades exploring the real-world sites of Scripture, Dave has built a career helping others see the Bible come alive through history and adventure. His stories take us from the streets of Jerusalem to the ruins of Turkey, revealing how God's fingerprints are all over time and place, and how faith, when seen through the lens of history, becomes even more real. Dave's perspective is funny, wise, and deeply rooted in truth. A reminder that our faith isn't myth or metaphor, but history written by the hand of God himself. If you enjoy this conversation, be sure to like, follow, and share so you never miss an episode. And if you want to support our mission, there's a link in the description below. This is the MakeReady podcast. Dave Stotts.
Hello, Brian.
Okay, I'm going to ask you the
Sims.
question I did a second ago too early, but how did we meet?
How do we meet?
Because I don't remember.
Yeah.
You know the people you just know and you don't really know?
How's that not supposed to be offensive to me that you don't remember how we met?
Well, I just don't.
I don't either, but I know where we went to lunch first.
Well, that's important. That's probably more important than knowing who connected.
Skyrocket Burger.
Well, that's very important. Did I introduce you to Skyrocket Burger?
You did. And I'm carrying forward the legacy. My sons go there. My grandsons will go there. It's great. No, I love it. Best smash burger in Dallas.
It is, and it's still the same people making the burgers.
Yeah,
same grease. It's all about the grease. Because
if
they ever clean that grill, there's gonna be some very upset people.
And it's about the terseness of the cashier. I love that about her. She's like all business. Mm-hmm. She doesn't want.
We got to move the people.
She doesn't want to know your opinions about the world.
No,
she doesn't want to know where you're from. She just wants to know what kind of burger you want, what you want on it.
And she wants you to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And that's what you're there for. It's
great fries, too.
Yeah, the fries are good.
Yeah.
Have you had the onion rings?
I have.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Anyway.
And
so this has been good. Thank you. This was awesome.
Yes,
and,
next time we will talk
brought
about
to you by Skyrocket Burger
tacos
here in Dallas.
Tacos. Dude, it is not every day you get to interview basically Indiana Jones.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So should I just start there and just let you affirm that?
I was thinking about that movie. So, 1981, it gets released. I saw it as a little boy in the theater. I'm that old, but
Hey, there's been recent ones. I've seen Indiana Jones.
They can't take that away from me. I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark in the movie theater. The whole face melting scene is etched in my psychology in very deep places. But I remember going to that movie, and it was like everything up until that movie, and then there's everything after. Like it was my Star Wars. It was my, whatever. It's the best movie that's ever been made. I know that you like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, but, that's your thing, whatever. I'm not going to judge you. I'm a Raiders guy. But for me, I can't put my finger on exactly why I loved it so much as a kid. But as an adult, what I loved about it was that here's a guy who's a really cool swashbuckling archaeologist, Han Solo, and he's taking the Bible seriously, right? So he's going on this amazing adventure as if the stories we read in the Bible actually took place in time, space, history. And that's probably not why I appreciated it when I was a little boy. I appreciated it because a guy's face melted off, and I thought that was really cool.
Well, you got to put the hooks in there.
Yeah. But looking back, I think, that's sort of why I appreciate it more maybe now as an adult. And I don't know, it sort of got in me, and I decided, I want to do something in that world, that mysterious world where the Bible and faith and Christianity and history and adventure and all that intersect. And so Raiders. I don't count Temple of Doom or the other two that came.
No, it ended more recently. Right at the
Last Crusade, number 3, was acceptable.
Right. Raiders was first. That was the first one, right? Raiders was
You're asking me this question
I'm asking you this question.
Yes, it was.
Because it was
Raiders of the Lost Ark. Actually, it's called Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. But
fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So, like, that really had that much of an impact on you that it's led
I
you to
remember
this point?
I remember the theater I was in. It was 1981. I was 8 years old, and I remember walking out of the theater thinking that was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
What's your path? Like, where'd you? I mean, obviously, you've ended up here wearing a poncho shirt.
Yeah, standard issue video production gear, light tan chinos and a gray poncho.
All intentional.
So I wanted to become a filmmaker, which I never did do, and I'm glad I didn't because it wasn't a path that would have been right for me. But I remember geeking out over watching the Oscars as a high school kid, and I would watch the Oscars. And I want to be like a movie director. I still love that whole world. I love films. I love film, and I love film soundtracks. Brian, I would mow the grass. I would wear the big yellow Walkman, and then I would graduate to the Discman. And you're too young to know what a Discman even is, man. That had sports on it. It was yellow, bright yellow. This huge.
It would skip though. I remember it skipping. You remember those?
No, mine had anti-skip, man.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
You got to sprint for the anti-skip and the hi-fi.
I'm come from ministry world. We didn't have anti-skip.
No, I don't mean to brag. I'm not trying to showboat, my anti-skip feature on my disc Walkman. But I wore this big manhole cover on my belt, and I would listen to movie soundtracks while I would mow the grass. I mean, most everybody else, they're listening to like Van Halen and U2 and all that trash.
Straight John
and
Williams.
I'm going like, yes, John Williams and later Hans Zimmer. And I love movie scores. And I would like play out scenarios in my mind. Like what happens if, like in Die Hard, this lawn that I'm mowing gets infiltrated by terrorists? What would I do? How would I defend, this house with a weed eater? No, I'm a total nerd on that stuff. I still to this day listen to soundtracks. If you saw my soundtrack playlist, you would do it like a musical intervention on me. There's just a lot of weird movies.
What do you think it is about films that just captivate us?
Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of friends who prefer the longer form sort of novelistic approach of the long TV series, and they really let the characters kind of evolve, and the plot is slower and it's maybe more complex. To me, that the 2-hour movie is the pinnacle of art. I think being able to tell a story within that sort of confines is just really interesting. And if you can do that effectively, I mean, these are just lenses and pieces of glass and cameras and all the rest that if you don't know what you're doing, it can look like absolute garbage. And to watch a film that actually looks amazing, sounds amazing, is amazing, that's not an easy thing to do. Sure, AI is going to be putting us all out of a job before the end of the day, but until then, I'm going to appreciate what filmmakers are able to actually do with real cameras and all the rest.
Well, I think films are fascinating because obviously it's the intersection of almost every medium.
Yeah.
And it takes a team of people that under the direction of one guy to say, hey, these are all the pieces I need made to create this emotion in people and to communicate this idea.
Right.
And it just comes together. And I think that I know I do, especially. There's nothing like sitting in a good movie.
Yeah.
And just in a way, you surrender to the narrative.
Yeah.
And and it takes you somewhere.
You have those friends that they nitpick every little thing and about how unrealistic this or that is. And there is a time to do that. But I'm like, if you're spending $15 on a movie, go with it. Suspend the disbelief and at least give it a chance to kind of suck you in. And, there are movies that when the credits roll, I just say to them, I just start nodding. I'm like, yep, that did it. That invited me into a world that I want to live in. Mm-hmm. It's a divisive movie, but the new Superman, I remember when the credits rolled on that, I just loved how that movie made me feel at the end. And if a movie can make me feel good, I know that's real touchy-feely, I'm not trying to dissect it, then I don't want to dissect it. I was like, how did this movie make me feel at the end? And there's some movies that make me feel cold. I can't get into the narrative, the characters, anything like that. But the movies that can make me really sort of want to inhabit that world and know those people, mm-hmm. those are the ones that I walk away from thinking, I may not be able to put it all into a scorecard, but I'm walking away nodding my head like, yeah, that hit me in the sweet spot. Kind of like you with Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Well, it's art. I mean, especially the ones that are good, true, and beautiful.
Yep.
Right? That aren't necessarily gimmicky. That aren't preaching at you. I mean, this mm-hmm. is the thing that I think Christian films get completely wrong. It's just a sermon. It tells you what to think instead of inspiring you to think that thing.
Right.
Asking a question, and you fill in the blank.
And these days, it's not the Christian films that are the worst at that. It's some of the hard left sort of ideologies that are getting pushed in a lot of films too. That's just as annoying. It's like if you're going to preach to me, some crazy leftist ideology in your movie, then it's not a movie anymore. It's a sermonette. Mm-hmm. It's a sermon in film, and that's no more enjoyable than Left Behind.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hard take. Well, they're suffering from the same thing that Christian films have done. They can't get the economics.
Right.
People don't want to see them.
No, they don't want to be preached at. They don't want to be indoctrinated. They want to be taken on a journey, and they want to be entertained, or in my case, infotained.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You haven't gotten far off of the film.
Edutained. Yeah, I try to approach. So I edit the shows as well. So I'm the on-camera presenter.
That's why you look so good, because okay.
Yeah. That's I spent 2 hours in makeup, and there's a lot of pancake on here. This is what you get with the pancake. We try to approach it and to be really unique. So there are a lot of presenters that know a lot more than I'll ever know. There's a lot of presenters that are better looking than you and I put together. But it's my sort of shtick, my brand is about, going to hard places to do that. And places that are not easy to get to, off the beaten path, down forgotten roads, and doing it there, on location. So on location storytelling, on location history is sort of the secret sauce. And you guys are way smarter. Do your stuff in a studio, and you don't have to do all of that and deal with all the travel. Like, I'm jet lagging right now. I just got back from Turkey a week ago. And I'm fine now, but at 5 p.m., you could hand me $1 million, and I would find some way to be irritated by it. It's terrible. I mean, it's really bad. The jet lag is horrible. Pray for my family.
How long were you over there?
Like 3 weeks. And like 5 p.m., for the rest of the evening, from 5 p.m. on, roughly.
You're done.
It feels like, when you get woken up in the middle of the night and you're kind of panicky and kind of like out of sorts and angry and whatever. You just get that feeling all of a sudden. So anyway, I spent 3 weeks in Turkey, and we were some pretty remote places, or I should say Turkey, because I had to agree to pronounce it by its new rebranded name Turkey is not Turkey, it's Turkey.
What is Turkey going woke?
No. It's just that's the way Turks have used how they've said their own country for generations. It got sort of casualized in English to Turkey, and I think they want to, and
well, don't
more
they know
power.
we make the decisions?
That's true. I forgot to mention that when I was over there as a guest in their country. We had an amazing time. Turkey, it's like the other Holy Land. Turkey's the other white meat. Turkey is the other Holy Land. Like it is a fascinating. If you love Christian history and architecture and ruins, Turkey is an amazing place to go. We had an awesome team, a great fixer there who took us all around, and it was great. But Turkey, the 2 dots over the U, that's an omelet.
Oh, that's what that means.
Yeah, the tour, and then Kia, Turkey.
My throat doesn't do that. Okay.
You could do it.
I can't even do it.
But we had a great time looking at history and looking at church history and Christian history and saints and martyrs who gave their lives for the faith. And I don't know about you, but that really ignites my imagination about the faith. I mean, we have, as Christians, one of the great things about looking at history as Christians is that everything hinges on that. Like, it's not just a curiosity. It's not just, I find history interesting. It's everything for us. Like, if that didn't happen, if what we claim as Christians didn't happen in time, space, history, then Paul said, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. None of it matters. Life doesn't even really matter. So what can be more exciting than to look at history from a Christian perspective and to do what we do, which is to try to look at and reveal and uncover and explore what we think are the unmistakable fingerprints of God in history, how it's all orchestrated by him, and none of it's random and arbitrary, this idea of Hegelian dialectic. Everything's thesis and antithesis. It's random, and it just kind of evolves and flows along, undirected and unguided. That's a boring way to look at history, in my opinion. I look at it as this is God. This is God's story. He's putting it together the way he wants. If something happened in the past, it must have meaning then. Mm-hmm. And if something happened in the past, it happened on a point on a map. And a lot of these places they're hard to get to, but you can get to them. And so crafting these stories, these scripts, these narratives with an eye toward looking at history that way, for us has been a really exciting journey.
Explain to the people listening what it is that you do specifically. I mean, obviously traveling stuff, but you've got the show that's on Amazon. You've got other projects that you're working on.
Mm-hmm. So for 20 plus years, I have hosted and edited a show called Drive Thru History, and it's an on-location history show from a Christian perspective with kind of a car theme to sort of hook the men.
Extremely well done, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, we worked really hard on those shows, and they're kind of evergreen. So even though some of the series are 8-10 years old, and it's about 8 to 10 pounds ago for me as the host as well, unfortunately, they really hold up, and there's educational value there. People contact us and they say, yeah, we've watched your shows many times, because they have that evergreen nature to them. There's something that you can learn, and they're very densely packed with information, but they're done in a way that's on location with a cool car. We do a lot of cultural interaction, a lot of very fast-paced editing, cool maps, a lot of artwork. We fill these things with tons of artwork, and there's a plethora of biblical art that's accessible these days that you can find, and you can color them and layer them and do all these techniques to try to make these historical narratives and these history lessons come alive. Not because history's boring, mm-hmm. but because it deserves to be told in a way that's entertaining and interesting visually. And I edit these shows, so I look at myself a lot, which is I'm sure giving me some deep-seated narcissistic personality disorder. But I try to objectify myself and all the rest. But I edit these shows, and so I take a lot of time to try to make them look as good as I can, and we fill them up with driving sequences and drone shots and funny segments. I mean, I'm the host, and I don't take myself too seriously a lot of the time. Indiana Jones would blow the dust out of an ancient inscription, and I will do that, and then
slow motion.
Dust will blow back into my eye or something like that. I've been bit by camels. I've been bit by a camel twice, not the same camel, different camels at different times. You have fun with. Well, the biting wasn't fun. He bit me in the face.
Camels
Brian.
are not a funny.
I have it on my Facebook profile. You can see the teeth of the camel and a bit of my cheek between his teeth, and with ninja-like reflexes, I was able to snap my face away. Otherwise,
it would have gone with it.
Otherwise, I mean, this would have been messed up, right? But no matter how much you're tempted, it's unwise to go stick your face down next to the mouth of a camel.
Yeah,
I don't know what possessed me to do that.
Well, he'll let you know that you're a little close.
I mean, if St. Peter is the gateway into heaven, the mouth of a camel is the gateway to hell. Like, it is a terrible thing. It is gross and disgusting and filled with bacteria, and it almost pierced my face. And one bit me on the hand one time. And let me just tell you, there's not enough hand sanitizer in Israel to wash off the shame of a camel's mouth being on your face. But can you tell that this has gotten into my psyche?
Really
Yeah. So getting back to your original, we use little things like that to have fun, and I try to goof off a little bit on the field. But we're handling sacred things too, so we try to build a wall between the stuff that's really serious and really important, and then we try to have a little bit of fun with the cars and the camels.
How many times have you been over there?
Israel 9 times, which for a lot of people that's like, I do that before I was in middle school. But Turkey several times, Rome, Greece, Cyprus, Patmos, and then we did a series. So we've been doing this for 23 years or so. We did a lot of shows early in the game on like Roman history, Greek history. Then we did an American history series, and then there was a lull for a while, and then things picked back up with our Bible content. We did 18 shows on the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, not in a real chronological way. We sort of synthesized all the narratives, and we just hit all the places that are relevant to the stories of the Gospels. And then we did 18 shows on Acts to Revelation, so that filled out the rest of the New Testament. And then we did 20 shows on how Christianity spread from Jerusalem to Judea to Samaria and to the ends of the earth. And so we carved up the world into 20 segments, and we did a show from each location. So that year, just a couple of years ago, I really filled up the passport and was gone for some long chunks of time. When I get back and my wife hasn't changed the locks, I'm considering that a successful reentry because I'm gone for long. And that's actually, on a serious note, I don't like being gone for that amount of time. I mean, I think part of what you're building here is content that can inspire dads to say, my family is more important than anything. And I'm going to tell you, when I'm in Turkey for 3 weeks and it's my son's birthday, and I'm missing it because literally I was on the top of a volcano one time for his birthday, and I'm having all this fun with my friends and the crew. It's like, there's something not quite right about this. Although I did FaceTime him. I had signal from the top of a volcano. He'll probably remember being FaceTimed from the top of a volcano in the Philippines on his birthday than he would if I were even home. So, and this year, this is the second birthday of Nathan. Nathan, I love you, buddy. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to miss your birthdays anymore. We travel in the fall when the weather is better. So his birthday and mine. I was over there for my birthday as well. This year, I was in Pergamum, ancient Pergamum in western Turkey. Pergamum, which in the book of Revelation is called where Satan dwells. Jesus, so he gives through John, St. John, he gives the 7 churches of Revelation 7 messages. One of them is to the church in Pergamum, and they're struggling against the culture. There's an ancient altar to Zeus there, and Jesus calls it where Satan dwells. So that's another sort of wow for me, is to realize, we as Christians, we struggle to live out our faith in a sometimes hostile culture, and we think that that's somehow special. That's, in some ways, that's how it's supposed to be. You know, a lot of these letters and a lot of the content of the New Testament is written to Christians in that kind of a struggle. Sometimes not struggling with success. I mean, there are only 2 of the letters that John gives, but it's Jesus' vision. 2 of the 7 churches of Revelation, only 2 of them didn't have very negative things in it of, I'll spit you out of my mouth because you're lukewarm. And he told that to Laodicea. And how often do we look around at how we live out our faith and we personify lukewarm? And Jesus has harsh words for that. So, yeah, I mean, realizing that we are standing on the shoulders of a church that's been around 2,000 years, struggling with the same things we're struggling with, makes the Bible, I think, even more interesting, exciting, relevant. You know, we read the Bible. It's more than just a me and Jesus devotional book. It is that, but it's no less than that, obviously, but it's more than that. It's a history book that can remind us that our faith, the historicity of our faith is everything.
It's anchored in reality. I mean, all these things happened. I mean, I've never been to the Middle East. I've never been to these places. And one thing that your show has really helped me see, and I've heard from so many people that have been over there that are like, when you touch and feel and smell these locations, like it brings the Bible alive in a way that you can not explain.
Yeah.
But your show has done that, other than the smell. You know,
well, the camels smell.
Well, the camels do smell through the TV. I can just tell. But that has really done wonders for me.
Well, when you go there, it's not as if you're seeing. People talk about the footsteps of Jesus. You're not seeing his foot impressions. Although there's a church in Turkey that said these are the feet of Jesus that he ascended from here. He didn't ascend from Turkey. It's more symbolic. They admit that. But, and sometimes where something took place isn't exactly accessible. But you go there and you realize it's not so much where something took place, it's that it took place is unmissable. And sometimes it's a big church that's built over a spot that had theological significance. And sometimes we look at that and we poo-poo that. It's like, oh, wow, I just really wish that this was just the way it was. Well, these churches are protecting these locations. And they're built oftentimes over top of the ruins of a previous church that were built over the top of the ruins of a church that got destroyed by an earthquake, that were built on the top of the ruins of a pagan temple built by a Roman emperor. Why did he pick that spot? Because the ancient Christians were going to these locations as treating them as pilgrimage sites because of this was where Jesus was born. This is where so the Church of the Nativity. That's the story of the Church of the Nativity. Pilgrims were going there for the first couple of centuries, and then a pagan temple got built over top of it. Then along comes Constantine, legalizes Christianity, and then now Christian churches can get built. And so the pagan temples got knocked down, Christian churches started getting built, and so you go to these first generation, sometimes Christian churches that were built in the 300s, and you walk in, and you feel like, wow, this is very churchy. It's in the shape of a cross, and there's a baptistry, and this is where the altar was, and this is where the people would have assembled and gathered. And it again, it's that point I made earlier about we are in line with everything that came before, and that inspires me because this is an enduring faith. It's durable. It was around 2,000 years ago. Under intense, fierce, fiery persecution. It didn't go away. It only grew. And then when it was legalized and all these churches began being built now above ground, we explored some that were underground that were used prior to that. It endured again, and it kept going. And what did Jesus tell Peter? The gates of hell will not prevail against my church. And that implies that the gates of hell are trying to stamp it out. And it continues to endure. And And so, I mentioned Constantine. Everybody poo-poos Constantine, like, well, he institutionalized the church, or he politicized the church. And I'm thinking, well, on the one hand, yeah, you don't want to politicize church. On the other hand, we need friends. We need friends in high places sometimes. And so he signs the Edict of Milan in 313, legalizing Christianity. And it's off to the races. And you go to these churches, these Byzantine masterpieces, and some of them are carved, into in Turkey, for example, in Cappadocia. We went to Cappadocia, and these rock-hewn churches in these ancient rock formations with frescoes that date back to the Byzantine era. Sometimes some of the earliest images of Christ ever painted, they're still there, and it's like, wow, thank you, ancient Christians. We get to make this really cool series because of the stuff you built. I mean, the stuff you painted. It's beautiful. It lasts. And so it's an exciting time to be a Christian, because getting to these places is possible. Cameras are getting better and better. Drone technology is there, and we're getting amazing aerials. It's a fun time to do the kind of stuff that I do.
How has it affected you, going to all these places, seeing these things, you and your faith?
Is this the part where you try to make me cry?
Yeah,
because,
right now.
It's affected me by, I think, maybe what I was hinting at before. Like, when I read the letters of Paul or the New Testament, some of that geographical stuff is easy to sort of ignore. And when you go to these places, it's hard to ignore those names and locations and cities and regions, because you have the visual of it kind of in your head still. That's part of why I think people really connect with the show, because for them, they get to see, maybe not in the flesh, but they're seeing hopefully a beautiful imagery of it, and it makes the Bible kind of leap off the page maybe in ways that it might not have done before. So I would say that the historicity of the faith, the being in alignment with brave men and women who have lived and died for the faith, makes me look at my little complaints about being a Christian today feel really petty. And rather than feeling guilty about that, I just try to have more boldness and courage and optimism about the future. And through thick or thin, if things get turned dark and the road before us turns steep, Christianity is going to endure. If the road levels out and it's easy living, that's when things, we get lazy and we set ourselves up for the next generation to have a harder time. I think we've seen that in recent history.
What's the adage, like, strong men create good times meet weak men create bad times create strong men.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's the point. That's it.
Yeah. And round we go.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we are awash in luxury opinions in the church today.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, I've never been over there, but I've heard that a lot of those opinions just get put in their proper place when you start to see these real things.
Yeah.
If I said, like, well, Dave went to Houston and then he went to this place and he went to this place. If I read that, well, I'm going to think Houston and I'm going to think, oh, I've been there, and there's so much context to that. I know Houston is humid. I know that is not fun.
Yeah.
I know that he went here. I know that he went there. And there's just so much context and life and color that comes from knowing the places. Have you ever gotten to take your family to these places at all?
I have not. And that's bucket list stuff there. I would love to take my family. But you go and it's up at dawn. You know this as a filmmaker. You'd want the good light, right? Mm-hmm. So the dawn light is the best light. Mm-hmm. So when we were in Ephesus a couple of weeks ago, we're getting up before the sun because we know that, right, when that sun begins to crest over the horizon, you're getting this beautiful bluish, soft, moody light. And the noonday sun is terrible for if you have a on-camera presenter, because I don't need any help looking older than I already do. So the harsh shadows are worse then. But then in the evening, you get oftentimes a great, beautiful golden hour. So why am I bringing that up? Oh, family. Yeah, you're working beginning to end of the day, and maybe taking a little break in the middle of the day, but it's not conducive to really good quality family time.
Have you been without a camera?
No, I have not. I've never been to these places apart from working on the shows, which, yeah, it's harder to soak it in being on the job. It's harder to appreciate it because you're worried about things like, what's the light? How are our cameras, the camera crew, the batteries, the drones, the permits, all of that jazz. And you realize, oh, wait a second, I'm standing where, the apostles preached, and those kinds of things. And you have to force yourself to block all of that other stuff out and then try to soak it in.
Well, that's interesting because you probably have way more information and research about that location, know more about it than your average person that's just going to stand there and soak it in.
Yeah, but knowledge isn't always the best way to appreciate something. I mean, I'm not an academic. I'm not a history scholar at all. People sometimes ask me, hey, where did you study history? And I'm like, Wikipedia, same as everybody else. Just kidding. I've done a little bit more research than that. But you can know a lot about God and theology and the Bible and history and not appreciate any of it. And there are some people whose sandals I'm not worthy to untie who are able to appreciate and be more pious and devotional to God, having never visited these places and never will. So it's not an automatic guarantee that you are going to have a moment, so you try to force yourself into those times of making sure you don't forget why you're here and all the rest, but you also are trying to build something for other people to appreciate. So you can't ignore the fact that, okay, God has me here. This is my vocation. This is what I'm here to do. If I could sit here with the Bible in my hand and have my own personal me time all day, and we are wasting a ton of people's money and time. And so you can't do that to me. You try to find a balance. And the camaraderie of these teams, is another. You help each other to remind each other why we're there too. But I think Mark Twain said that if you want to know if you love somebody or hate somebody, travel with them, and then you'll know. And I've been fortunate to travel with men who are like brothers to me. And I just got back from a trip with a man who is my brother, and he was a camera operator and drone operator, and he killed it. He crushed it with some amazing some drone aerials that are incredible. By the way, when you get off on the airplane in any of these locations, it's no different than if you were to try to do it in New York or in somewhere else. You got to be permitted to the gills, and if you aren't, you're gonna probably go to jail.
That's what I was gonna
a
ask
Turkish
you.
prison, or
Yeah.
at least you'll get your stuff confiscated, or you'll get shut down.
Well, I don't know what's worse, being in jail in New York or in Turkey, but
yeah, no, that's a toss-up. That's the age-old dilemma. Yeah, you've got to be permitted like crazy. So the pre-production process of these trips is extensive. And so you use on-the-ground people. If you just, like I said, get off the plane with camera in hand and just go for it, that's a recipe for getting shut down. So you have to have all your I's crossed and your T's dotted. And your U's umlauted. That's a U with an umlaut. But before you even hit the ground. And so we use fixers. What's a fixer? Somebody who is making sure all the permits are there. And in Turkey, the permitting process was really complicated. And True Blue, the company we used, and Serkan, who's now a good friend, was our fixer on the field and was able to get all that stuff for us. And it unlocked so many doors. We could get drone footage of just about anywhere we wanted to go. And sorry, I keep going into the technical filmmaking side of things, and I'm
this
not.
Is just for me. I love the technical side of things. How many guys were you traveling with?
This Turkey team I was with, it's a show that's not called Drive Thru History. It's called The Road Less Traveled. It's a different title. It's going to come out next year on a different platform. But Drive Thru History, we would try to take maybe 6 guys. 6 sometimes felt like too many. 5 felt like not enough. So we'd often take 6. You got to do data import at the end of the day, and
It's a whole thing.
A
People
guy,
have no idea how much goes into that.
Yeah, and guys with a fellow with a script in his hand, making sure I say things the right way. You don't want to mess up on content.
Yeah, and your 3 makeup people.
Oh, well, no, I'm not even talking about the makeup team. Yeah, that's an entire crack squad of pancake appliers. So it's not a huge Hollywood production. I mean, and cameras are smaller and more portable these days. So, yeah, it's not rocket science, although I'm not going to try to make it sound easy, because then other people are going to go over there and do that. And
it's really hard. You shouldn't try.
No, you shouldn't try.
Exactly.
You will die. You will die on the field.
Have you been
in a Turkish prison?
Have you been in any really gnarly situations?
I did get pulled over by the Turkish police on this last trip. That was no fun. I was by myself in a truck, and I was on a dirt road, and they parked in the middle of the road, and both Turkish police officers got out and started walking toward me, and I said, I think I probably should stop the truck and roll the window down. Total language barrier. Luckily, I had Serkan on the phone, and he could show us the permits and stuff. But anyway, there was a riot in Jerusalem one time between Israeli police and some Palestinian rioters, and that was ugly. We watched it. We got caught up in it. And there was water cannons with the blue paint coloring so that they could blast the guys and find them later, because they were stained. Literal dumpster fire. Cars overturned, cars on fire. We got through it all. We went up onto the Mount of Olives and watched it. There's the Kidron Valley there, and then we could see the Temple Mount. And I'm watching this riot unfold on the top of the Temple Mount, and I'm thinking, is Armageddon about to break out here? Should I call my mom and tell her I love her real quick before that happens? But it didn't last too long. So that got a little bit ugly. My crew and I, we joke when we were doing this series called The Ends of the Earth. It's the one I mentioned about the 20 locations around the world where Christianity spread to those locations. We started looking at all the places we'd been. We went to this, like I mentioned, the volcano in Philippines. About a month later, it erupted. We went to Australia. We got back from Australia, and about 2 months later, all those people, it may be hard to remember, the wildfires that broke out in Australia. We went to Ukraine. We all know what happened there not long after we were there. We went to Hong Kong, technically China. COVID broke out not long after that. So we started thinking, are we the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and just don't know it? Is this we accidentally unleashing the apocalypse? I mean, we thought that would be a great idea for like a funny comedy. These guys go around the world doing something and realizing, not even knowing it's like, we're the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. We don't want to be the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. We don't want to work with Satan anymore. So maybe then they try to fix all the things that they unleash, and that's about as far as I've gotten in the script, Brian. And
what's further development?
It needs some script doctoring, but it could fill a void in that rather open lane of supernatural comedy, Christian genre.
It's not very densely populated.
No, not yet. But
yeah. Well, spiritual warfare. Did you experience any of that while you're in these places?
Yeah. By definition, spiritual warfare is invisible. So you speculate a little bit, but our trips are covered in prayer, and I never go overseas without being completely prayed up and have people praying for me, groups praying for us. And occasionally we'll have little snafus on the field, but by and large, we've won those battles for the most part. Occasionally we'll have, drone crashes. that's not really what you're getting at. But it's hard to separate those kinds of things from the spiritual warfare, things that just shut you down and stop your production. That's why you're there. You're not there to have the me and Jesus time. You're there to tell a story and bring it back so that other people can have the me and Jesus time in a unique way. And so when those things happen, you start to feel it a little bit, because, Satan doesn't want, he hates the church. He hates Christianity. He hates you and me. He hates the stories of the last 2,000 years of his, heroic martyrs and saints and missionaries. And he hates those stories because they promote Christ and his church. And so, you feel that. But, prayer, it works. It works. And so we don't go without being really covered. And but that's not to say that my good friend Tom Small, my cameraman for Drive Thru History, tells me and reminds me that on-location production is problem solving. Mm-hmm. That's really all it is. And I don't have to tell you. I mean, that's just what it is.
You go as prepared as you can,
yeah.
But you just have no idea what you're going to find when you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right. So knowing that you could have an entire day, which is an enormous amount of money even for one day, get shut down because of a thunderstorm, that will keep you up at night, realizing there's a lot on the line here, and navigating those unforeseen issues. Yeah, it's also an adrenaline rush too, though. It's hard to get thrills these days. It's go over and risk, wasting a bunch of money and time with bad weather. But I've never come back from a trip and said, well, that was a dud. Mm-hmm. I've always come back thinking, yeah, we have it. We have what we need to tell the stories and to make the series. And that's a really good feeling.
How long does it take you to go through all the stuff?
So I'll edit like a 30-minute show in about a month.
Well, how much footage goes into that?
Oh, wow. I mean, hours and hours, but not as much as you might think. We try to nail the direct-to-camera
because you're
stuff.
Scripted.
Yeah, we're scripted, yeah. So we try to nail that without too many bloopers. And then, so once we get those kind of direct-to-camera portions done, then we have fun. Then we play around with the drones and slow-mos and, Dave, drag your fingers across this ruin and look pensive.
Look at the future.
That's the stuff that really is hard, Dave, walk over there to that pillar and touch it.
How many shots are on the editing room floor that you're like, nobody is ever gonna see this?
A lot. A lot. The camel bite. No, people saw the camel bite. I got bit by a dog in Turkey. Yeah. There are dogs and cats everywhere over there. Yeah, the whole the animal stuff, the food stuff. We have weird foods. Some of that's not going to make it. We had in Peru. I ate a guinea pig. You ever been to Peru?
No.
Yeah. You ever had authentic Peruvian cuisine?
Guinea pigs?
Yeah. At the risk of offending a great civilization, I would say that the guinea pig being a delicacy over there. I mean, first of all, guinea pigs.
Rat.
Haven't guinea pigs given enough to us? Haven't they given their lives enough? Do we need to kill them and eat them? And then I was at this Peruvian restaurant, and I look over and I see this good-looking couple, a guy and a girl, clearly on a date. And I was like, they look like Lady and the Tramp, only instead of the plate of spaghetti, they have a guinea pig on a plate between them. And this is like a deal. That's like a big deal for them. It's like an authentic thing. And you look at it, there's no preparation. It just looked like a guinea pig fell into the fryer, and they took it out, and they put it onto a plate, and they chowed down.
And they're just looking at each other's eyes.
Yes. We ordered one, and I had some of it. And the Peruvian people are amazing. I loved Peru, but the guinea pig was repulsive to me. Maybe it's my fault. It's not you, it's me. My palate is not trained, but I didn't like the taste of the guinea pig.
Since you've been everywhere, let's just get it out there. We're talking about truth. Who has the best food?
Yeah, France.
Well,
Italy.
When you smother it in butter, of course it's going to be awesome.
Okay. Italy is good food. We don't eat like kings. We eat pretty Spartan on these trips. But that's one of the great,
Come on, there's never a moment where some dude with the food truck, which is really just a camel walking by, some guy's telling you some taco-looking thing, and you're like, dude, this
avoid the street food. You got to avoid the street food.
I did learn that in India.
In India.
Yes,
you had Indian street food.
It was a bad experience. It was a bad experience. Some people have to learn by experience.
Yeah. My son went to Mexico City this year, and he's like, Dad, he's filming the street tacos that they got from a vendor there in Mexico City, and he sent me the footage. He's like, Dad, this is the best food I've ever eaten. And I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, oh, man. Set your watch. And sure enough, 2 days later, all hell breaks loose. He and all of his travel buddies. I felt sorry for them.
Just Montezuma's revenge.
No kidding. I've had food poisoning before. We don't eat super fancy. Sometimes it's just hotel fare, But probably Israel, the hummus in Israel is indescribable how good it is. It's just next level. You go here, you get the sabra from the grocery store, and it's an insult compared to what they're able to do over there. It's just absolutely delicious.
So if you go back to any of these places, like you feel like maybe there are a few rocks that are unturned, and I'd love to explore that more, where would it be?
Wow. Well, my favorite cities are Jerusalem and Rome. I think if anybody who loves to explore history and loves ruins and loves cities and regions that have the greatest historical consequence, it's those two cities. That and Sheboygan. Don't get me started.
Oh, yes.
I'm just kidding. Nothing against Sheboygan. I just popped into my head. But you can just spend all day in like the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, for example, in Jerusalem, where the crucifixion site, resurrection, a stone's throw from each other.
Do you think it actually happened there?
I do. Yeah, I do. And again, because it goes back to antiquity, sure, it
church built on church.
That's
built
exactly
on church,
right.
Built on church.
Built on
and
a
you
pagan.
Can see the layers. Like
sometimes
you can go down there and
absolutely.
see the layers.
Sure, even the Temple Mount, you can see the Western Wall is what's left of Herod's second temple, and that's as close as the Jews can get to be able to pray on the Temple Mount. Jerusalem just buzzes with excitement and historical consequence, and the people there and the cultures, so many different cultures colliding there, sometimes in less than savory ways, as we know. And filming there can be a bit complicated. When you go from Jerusalem into the West Bank, you've got to pass a checkpoint, go through the security wall. And, that can be tricky, but the Church of the Nativity, Bethlehem, is there, so you got to do that. So, but being gringos, we could easily do that. Our Israeli fixer could not go with us, so he was arranged for somebody else to get us on the other side and all the rest. I haven't been there since October 7th, so things are probably a little bit more locked down.
Could you feel the tension?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes I could. We never went into Gaza. There's not a whole lot of reason to go down there, but we went to the West Bank a lot, and that was sort of tense. But nobody has a beef with us, so as Americans, and so we had a good experience. We had a good experience over there. Israel, I felt very safe. All times I've been there, I felt completely safe. It's only the size of New Jersey. It's small. And there are some parts of it that are only 9 miles wide. And so you never feel overwhelmed by where you're at geographically. But, when you go up north, you're near the Golan Heights. You've got Lebanon, Syria. There were some rockets or something that were flying near us, but nothing to where we needed to take shelter or anything like that.
You just kind of watch them go. Oh, there's
Yeah, and then I had to remind my crew, it's like, we are the four horsemen here, so we got to be careful where we go. Watch, I'll never be allowed back in any other country because of what I said. I'm not one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
What was it like having done all of this biblical history stuff and then switching and doing American history?
Well, I was with my Turkish friends in Turkey a couple of weeks ago, and I was joking, like, hey guys, not to brag, but some of our buildings in America over 200 years old.
But not to brag.
Not to brag, yeah. It's just a different level of history, when you're used to seeing things. We went to a place in Turkey called Göbekli Tepe. You ever heard of it? So
it's like Sheboygan.
It's
the Sheboygan.
It's a little older than Sheboygan. It has a religious sort of archaeological dig going on there that they've dated to 11,000 years ago. 11,000 years ago. Following some ancient faith that probably doesn't even exist anymore, predates Zoroastrianism. They don't even know what this religion was, who these people were, but there are carvings of weird creatures and religious symbols so old they can't even understand it. So when you're used to seeing something like that, I have a friend who thinks aliens. I mean, that's the kind of level we're talking here. Is that weird, that mysterious?
So then you pull out, dude, I found this arrowhead in my backyard.
Right. I pull out a pre-1965 dime. That's real silver in there, man. That's real silver in there. Yeah. I only know that because I went through a prepper phase. Yeah.
Oh, I've got some bags.
Yeah, and I've got some stuff. Okay. Well, after the podcast is over, we'll compare stuff. Yeah, because I got to know, once it hits the fan, I got to know who to go kill and steal all their stuff.
Well, you're not going to be able to find me. I've got a plan.
I've got 55-gallon drums of water in my garage that I'm literally embarrassed of. I got water, but I don't think it's potable anymore.
I had a friend who bought a pallet of soybeans in the middle of COVID. Still has them. A pallet in his garage of just soybeans.
Yeah.
He has no idea what to do with them.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds delicious. No, I have some of that stuff. I've got some of that stuff. I got some stuff that freeze-dried, expiration date 2035.
So you're good till then?
I'm good until 2035. And if we're still around by 2035, I'm going to throw the biggest block party of Mountain House.
Expiration day.
Oh, it'll taste terrible. It's probably zero taste anymore. It's like a can, and it says lasagna on it. It's like, how is there a can of lasagna or bananas? Or it's all freeze-dried.
Have you seen the YouTube channel? This is the most useless information. But there's this guy that buys old MREs from like World War I.
Yes, I've seen this
different
guy.
Countries, and he'll open them up and he'll eat them.
Yeah. Ooh.
And it's cringe.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it.
What were some things that he's found or that he's eaten?
Oh, it's what I thought. What's interesting to me is like what was food back then? Like what they would put in there and thought would last. And I mean, it's all sealed up. I mean, it opens up, and a lot of these are like still presered 100 years later.
If it's like a military issued MRE, it
probably
like
a cracker. There's like some jelly. There's some kind of synthesized meat, something.
And he's eating it. And it's probably not an expiration date that you can look at.
Well,
those MREs.
It rubbed off a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm an expiration date inerrantist. So I look at her expiration date, and that is holy writ as far as I'm concerned.
It does not change.
I do not.
It's not a suggestion.
My wife shakes her head. If the milk is even on the day, I might not drink it. Let alone the day after. The day after, it's garbage. If it's 2 days before, totally clear. So that whatever happens at midnight on that day magically turns into inedible garbage.
As your kids were growing up, did you ever find a sippy cup of milk that had been there for a while?
Yeah, yeah, indeed.
We're in that phase.
Yeah.
And have they ever taken a swig and brought it to you? It tastes funny. I can't even touch it. You just drank it.
Right. You ate it. It had curdled.
Yeah, it's cheese.
Yeah. Oh, the foibles of being a parent with little ones. I miss those years in many ways. I really do.
The fun things are the ones that people don't tell you about.
Yeah.
And I think it's intentional. You just don't tell. I've experienced things. I'm not going to tell people this because they just need to know from experience.
Yeah, you don't want to give new parents the fine print.
No.
They have to
They have to write it themselves.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Post having experience what the fine print is for.
Right. No, precisely. That's part of what parenting is all about, is waking up in the middle of the night, not knowing what to do with the 103 fever and the barf, and that just trying to figure it out. And it always is on Christmas Eve or Thanksgiving Day when no doctors are available. That always used to happen to us. So now my kids get food poisoning from street food and Mexico City. So it's just
that's on them. That's on them.
It's true.
You can laugh at that.
Yeah.
So, what was it like watching Indiana Jones with your kids for the first time? And then they go, "Dad, that's you."
No, they don't. Because I don't even watch my shows with my kids hardly ever. A few times I've forced them to sit down and watch Drive Thru History, and it was just a weird experience. It's like they know my bag of tricks. They've seen me every day. They know my lectures and all that.
People pay to watch this?
It's like, none of you have even asked for my autograph once since I've been home. What is wrong with you? Yeah. So watching Indiana Jones, they don't quite get it like I did, And the only one that really holds up well is Raiders. And they loved that. I think the face melting scene did kind of screw them up a little bit, like it did me. But hey, it's the Ark of the Covenant.
It's life.
The Ark of the Covenant,
I
found the Ark. I also found the Ark of the Covenant, Brian. I didn't, but I went on my first documentary. I don't appear in it, but I was the camera guy. This is in the mid-90s. I went to Ethiopia, where they have a group of Coptic monks in northern Ethiopia in a town called Aksum. And these monks claim to have the Ark of the Covenant inside this small chapel in this campus of churches. And they believe that the Ark of the Covenant that the Hebrews built to carry the Ten Commandments is there. And in the 90s, I got to go on a trip to go film these monks and do a documentary about the Ark of the Covenant. And I was 25 years old, and I was like, my life has peaked. It's all downhill from here. This is the coolest thing I've ever done. And I totally geeked out. I mean, I had the sports Sony Walkman listening to, this is super lame and just cringe, listening to the soundtrack of Raiders of the Lost Ark while I'm going around Ethiopia. It's like, wow. And ridiculous. But I mean, I wasn't super geeky about it. I hid the Walkman inside my my turquoise fanny pack. But fanny packs are back in, by the way.
That's true. You can bring them back out.
Good luck,
all
man.
All of them that you kept.
Yeah, I have some still. The turquoise.
How they like wear them across the...
Yeah, no. It's not a fanny pack at that point.
No, it's
a
what is it?
Satchel. I don't know. It's not a fanny pack is what I'm trying to say. So, so I got to do that documentary. That really kind of the bug bit me, I think, on that of traveling and filming these adventures. But I had no clue at that point that I would be, presenting and all the rest. The thing that got me into that was my friend Jim, who I'm with Drive Thru History with. We were on a layover in Rome, and we had some time to kill, and we went down to these ancient Christian catacombs that have carvings in them from like the 2nd century. And it's on a road called the Appian Way, an ancient ancient Roman road, and with huge cobblestones. Cars still drive on this thousands-year-old road, and you can rent bicycles as a tourist. And he's like, "Hey, why don't you go over and rent this bicycle and then turn the camera back on yourself and film yourself narrating about these catacombs and what the Appian Way is all about. It's like, okay. So we rented the bike, and these are not tiny. I mean, these are not iPhone cameras which are handheld. They're heavier cameras, and I'm trying to hold this camera and pedal.
It's not mounted.
No, I'm holding it I'm steering with one hand, a bicycle, and there's a grade, and these cars are whizzing by, and I start going out of control, and I'm vibrating, and my handlebars go like this. I go over the handlebars and land on these 2,000-year-old cobblestones and tear open my elbow, and Jim runs over and, how's the camera? We don't own this bike. We got to get this bike back. And so I limp away with blood coming out of my elbow, thinking, this is definitely what I need to be doing with the rest of my life with. So obviously this is divine.
Oh man. What would you encourage guys to do who we're young fathers, middle-aged fathers? We don't have time to go do these adventures. Like, how do we gain the insight and excitement that you're obviously, right in the middle of?
You mentioned fathers. So I do more than just these travel adventure history shows. I do production like you do, and not as to your level, but I do documentary work and editing and filming, and I'm working on a short form documentary right now. And this is just fresh in my mind. This probably is not even approximating an answer to your question, but you mentioned fathers, and it just popped into my head. It's a short documentary about a man named Tom Vanderwoody, who lived in Virginia, 7 sons, and his story, I'm piecing this story together now. It's a long story. He was an amazing man. Everybody loved him. Good, solid, strong Christian man who led his family boldly and passed on his faith, lived fearlessly, was a man's man, but lived with generosity toward everybody, especially his wife and 7 sons. And his youngest son, a special needs young man, and on their property, a farm in Virginia, they have a septic system. For anybody who doesn't know what a septic tank really is, it's where all the waste from the house goes into temporarily, and it was underground. And his youngest son, special needs boy, was standing on the door, the hatch on top of it, and fell through. And somehow this father, Tom, heard his son fall through or something, ran over, and there's a son down inside, and it's 3/4 full, and the fumes from that,
it's no oxygen,
will kill you.
Yeah,
it'll kill you if you're in there for too long. So he jumps in and starts lifting his son out of the sewage. Luckily, there was a man who was working on the property that day, an elderly gentleman who was able to take the son's hands, even as he's sort of hanging and dangling there. And the father said, "Okay, you pull, I push, and let's get him out." And as he pushed, he went under and he died. And tragic story. The family tells it, and how they don't come apart. I mean, it did happen. Oh gosh, I don't know, 15 years maybe ago or 10, can't remember. And the lesson there is that is what heroic manhood and fatherhood look like. Mm-hmm. And it's a metaphor for Christ, what he did. I mean, you can't get a better really sort of picture of what Jesus has done for the world, to jump down into the muck of our life and push us out even as he succumbed. And so, yeah, you just mentioned, how do we fathers, get inspired? I look at stories in ancient history, but also recent history like that, and I say, whatever that guy is, whatever motivates him, whatever animates him, that's what I want to be like. And I can only hope that if anybody, especially a son, was in that similar situation, that I would have the courage to do that very same thing. Nobody knows what they would do in a situation like that until it happens. I can imagine a lot of men would be like, I can probably pull him out from up here. Let's get a rope or whatever. Meanwhile, risking that your son is going to drown in this. To make sure that didn't happen, he jumped in and went under. And so there are a lot of stories like that throughout church history. Get your hands on these stories and let them animate you, let them inform you, and say, hold up heroes that you want to be like. I'm not particularly gifted or heroic or brave. I just try to hang around men who are and say, I want to be like you, and I'm going to fail. But, any success or skill or giftedness I've ever achieved, it's been because of people I've been around and kind of gleaned from them, what I admire. So I think proximity to good men, proximity to good stories and heroes of the faith, let those be what you chew on, and let that be the path that you decide, whatever it takes, I'm going to do what he did. So I don't know if that answers your question at all, but
the softest landing of a podcast episode I think I've ever heard. Dude, that's awesome. Thanks for coming on, man.
You're welcome, Brian. This was a lot of fun.
Until next time, I drag you back on here.
Well, let's not get carried away.
Well, I'm finishing it before you start asking me questions.
I didn't ask you that many questions.
Knows? Okay, we're done for the day. Thank you. Dave.
You control it all, man. You're editing this.
Dave Stotts. I know. Isn't it magic to edit your own podcast?
Yes.